Hey y'all, it's your girl Jada J. What's up? What's up? I want to apologize in advance. I know I'm technically late, but I'm not as late as I was last week, so we'll call that progress. Okay, so we're just gonna go right in because I don't want to waste none of your time. So this is the Haves and Have Not season 5, episode 22, the finale, the Veronica show. Okay, and I'm beginning to wonder why is it that we get hour and a half finales on If Loving You Is Wrong, but we can never get an hour and a half for this show. I mean, in a way, it's kind of a relief because the dialogue be kind of crazy. For me, the dialogue in this episode was kind of wild. Okay, so I'm gonna take some liberties because it is the finale. So, but I still want to give you guys the meat and potatoes of it. So we're just gonna go right in. We open up where we left off last week with Candace hyperventilating because she flipped open the casket, not realizing that QJ was in there. So she's going off on the funeral director. Why didn't you tell me he was in there? Why didn't you tell me? He's like, ma'am, I didn't know you were gonna do that. You know, we had to make sure that he was presentable enough to, you know. And so she goes to Benny. She's like, Benny, why didn't you tell me he was in there? He's like, Candace, I didn't know. You know, I didn't know you were going to do that. I'm sorry. So she's like, he's so gray and he's cold. She goes, I can't believe he did that, talking about Warlock. And then she turns to Hannah. And she goes, and you let them murder my son. She goes, you did this to make me suffer. Why can't you admit that? She goes, what did I ever do to make you hate me so much that you would allow my son to be killed? Just to get back at me. She goes, I never hated anybody. And Benny's trying to stop her. She goes, don't touch me. I never hated anybody as much as I hate you. And I cannot wait to the day that it's you in the grave. And that wooden box that you'll be burning in so I can spit on you. Hannah. You just predicted your own funeral. But it'll be more than one person. It'll be all those people that you lied to, lied on, cheated, conned, laid up with. It'll be all of them. All of them. And that's what's gonna make you face reality. And it's gonna be too late. She goes, why can't you understand that it's not me, Candace? It's not anybody. It's not Warlock. That was all you, Candace. It was you, daughter. And she called her daughter. Like, that's literally what she said. She was like, you're running from Warlock just like you were running from Quincy. She was like, it's probably going to be somebody else because you keep getting out of situations and getting into the same thing. When are you going to realize that, Candace? She goes, and God told me to stop praying for you. She goes, oh, so is that what did God do this? Are you saying God killed my son? Is that what you're saying? She goes, no, that's not what I'm saying. She said, then what are you saying? She goes, I'm saying God has ways of getting your attention whether you want to give it to him or not. She goes, so you are saying that he did this? She goes, no, it was you, Candace. It was you. And I want you to understand that. So Candace did look like I was surprised to see really any emotion from her. Not really okay, because we know this is her son. But she was actually, like when Hannah was saying that to her, she was crying like she knows it's her. Like she knows she played a part, but she's still kind of deflecting. So she goes, you need to stop running. You always running, but when are you going to stop? When are you going to go? She was like, and it's never going to stop, Candace. It's never going to stop until you go to God. Yourself, till you go to the source. And she goes, don't you understand? You can have your God. I don't want him. I don't want him. She goes, I will take him, Candace. I'll have God. I'll have God. She goes, Candace, this is what you don't get. You don't think I was upset? You don't think I was angry at God? You don't think I didn't want to pray to him? She goes, oh yeah, you felt all that, yet you still wanted to bury him in a church? And Hannah goes, yes. Because no matter what's going on right now, no matter how I'm feeling, no matter if that baby is dead, God is still God, Candace. He's still God. And she did just like that. And Candace is like, you know what? And she turns to the funeral director and she says, what's your name? He goes, I'm Jonathan. She goes, well, Jonathan, there's not going to be any funeral. And she turns and looks at Hannah. She goes, I want him cremated. Now, come on, let's go. And Benny is like, Candace, come on. And she's not even paying him no type of attention. And Catherine actually came in when they were doing a little scuffle. And so she looks at Catherine, pays her dust. It just true faces her and walks on out. And then so Benny's like, Mom, we can't let her do this. She goes, that's her child. That's her child. And Catherine goes, Hannah, I can call a judge. There are ways around this. You had custody. You know, you were raised. She goes, nope, that's her child. So I'm glad she's finally realizing that it is Candace's child. That's not shade toward Hannah, because I know that she knew that. But last week she was still defensive that Candace really wanted to come in and make, because for her it's like, you haven't been there for him his entire life, and now you want to come in and make decisions about the color of his casket. So, but this week that's her child. You know what I mean? Even after they get into that whole little scuffle that they had, which if I missed anything, please let me know, because there was a lot of dialogue there. I hope I didn't take too many liberties. But, so she goes, Catherine goes, I'm sorry. She goes, don't be sorry. It's just the body. His spirit is somewhere else. And at least we have our chance to say goodbye. So she opens up the casket. You know, Benny's got his hand on her shoulder. He's crying. Catherine is crying. Hannah opens the casket. She goes, you and your young short life. She goes, you know, I'm sorry that you went through all this, that you had so much pain. She goes, and you know, Grandma would have took that pain and carried it for you. She goes, you know, I always love you. I always carry you with me. She goes, and you were the only thing that brought me joy or light in a long time. She goes, I'm so glad we found you. When I looked at you, I seen me. I seen your Uncle Benny. I seen your mother. And when I looked into your eyes, I saw God. She goes, so God, I'm asking you, please don't let him be lonely. Don't let him be scared. Let him fly with the rest of, you know. And just, that was off the chain for me. Like, I just felt like Crystal Fox really did it. And it's just it was fantastic. It was fantastic. You know what I mean? I had the crew and everything. I said, you know what? I want everybody offset. I want everybody gone. I just want it to be me in the studio. But check this out, y'all. This is the type of crew I got. The crew said, nah, Jada. We all feeling the scene too. So you know what's going to happen? We all going to sit up here. And we gonna take it in waves. We gonna take it in waves because we all feeling a wave. We not gonna let you stop production. And because you got to get this review done. You got your 37 million subscribers out there and everything. Oh, you said it's a little bit less. Like what, 20 million? Around lower than that? I mean, it can't. Well, dang, I'm not even going to say that number because that's just embarrassing. All right. Appreciate it. They said you got viewers. And we gonna let you take your minute, but you can't stop production, Jada. You cannot stop production. So I got it together. I had it in waves. The whole crew had it in waves. Everybody on set knows what I'm talking about right now. Antonio, you know what I'm talking about. Lisa, you know what I'm saying. One love. So we all took a minute and we stepped back. They said, okay, Jada, you got to get back in it. You got to get back in it because you got people waiting. You got to get this out. So here I am. I just want to let y'all know this is the highest raise I've ever given in my life. $2 raises were given to everybody who was on production tonight. And that's just how it goes. That's the type of crew I got. You know, one love. This is the fam. Okay, all right, I'm done. Anyway, so she says, amen. Catherine, Benny, and Hannah all leave. So do you guys really think Candace is going to go through with the cremating process? So then we switch to Melissa. So she's sitting in the room. Veronica comes in and looks out the window. She goes, he's still not here? Melissa goes, no. She goes, you know, you're just useless. I need your help, Melissa. Help me. She goes, I can't make him come. She goes, yes, you can. Don't you get it? Men don't have brains. We think for them. I was like, I can't with Veronica. So then she goes, do something besides just laying there like that. Like, do something. So she actually calls up Jeffrey and she's like, Jeffrey, I'm getting impatient. Like, call me. This is your mother. And she goes, did you eat, Melissa? She's like, no. Picked up the sandwich here. She goes, I'm not hungry. She goes, you want me to force it down your throat? She goes, why not? You force everything else down my throat. She goes, why don't you I'm trying to help you. She goes, don't you understand a girl like you with not too much going on up here? A man would have took advantage of you, you know, chewed you up and spit you right out because you don't realize you got to get him before he gets you, girl. So you should be happy. I don't really know what you're so sad about. I don't get it. She goes, eat this. She goes, no. So she throws the sandwich on it. She goes, eat it. And she goes, and do something with your hair. Because no man is going to want to come around you when you looking like that. She goes, especially if he's gay. So she like tries to smack her. But Melissa kind of blocks her. And she goes, don't you ever say that word when you're talking about my son. She goes, nah. When I come back, that sandwich better be eaten and this mess better be cleaned up. Because she threw the sandwich and she had lettuce in her hair. I was like, okay, well, dang, Veronica. Okay, so she walks out the room. I said, wow, Veronica, you really ain't nothing. So then we switched to Wyatt. Now, this was like, I'm not really going to go through all the dialogue here because it wasn't really too much. But, not Melissa. Anna and him are walking through the park and she's talking. And this priest kind of walks up and accidentally kind of bumps Wyatt. So he's kind of looking like, oh, my bad. So they both kind of look at each other. So then the priest walks off and Wyatt is like, so Anna's like, oh, so anyways, I'm really impressed that you, and she's like, Wyatt, what's wrong? You haven't said anything since the DA left your apartment. He's literally just looking back like, she's like, are you okay? He's like, I think my parents have something to do with the DA's death. And he's still looking back. Is this the priest that raped Wyatt, y'all? Remember Wyatt got raped by a priest? The priest did look older. Like, he looked older. So, could that have been like, oh, snap, is that him? And then later on, we see the priest in that same, like, angle. In the background, we see him, like, coming up the hill. Because even though it became, like, a long time, like, the priest was probably long gone. By the time Wyatt is still looking back, like, was that him? And then we see him, like, on the other side of the park going up the hill. So, I don't know. Is that the priest? So then Anna's like, I'm really impressed that you told the DA, all the, how you perceive your parents and, because that was a lot of pain that you had to deal with when describing them. And he's like, yeah, well, when does it stop hurting? And she's like, the more you talk about it, the more natural it becomes. He's like, it gets easier. She goes, well, it never really gets easier, but, it becomes kind of natural to deal with reality. And she's like, so do you still want to go to the fire station? He's like, no, actually, can we just go back to the apartment? And she's like, yeah. So then we switch to Candace. She trying to get into her hotel room. The key's not working. So here go Jim. He's just watching her. He goes, well. Fancy seeing you here, Candace. And he comes up to her. And he's like, oh, what's the matter, sweetheart? Your key card's not working? He's like, oh, come on. Let me try it. Come on, let me try it. She goes, what are you doing here? And he goes, oh, just a temporary setback. He goes, but I will have you know, my key card works. And I'm in room 3029. So if you want to come down there and not sleep, I've got a bed. And, if I recall, you still owe me a whole lot of intercourse. He goes, I know you miss me. She goes, I don't. And good luck collecting on that. And so he's like, he's like, come on, it's not like you have any other options. You want to come stay with me. And she's like, no, I don't. And he's like, well, Warlock is looking for you. She goes, Warlock is dead. He goes, yeah, I heard about that. How did you know? And she goes, how did you know he was dead? Or how did you know Warlock was looking for me? And he goes, everybody's looking for you, Candace. And he goes out, she said something. What was it? Oh, yeah. He goes, it really was, you really shouldn't have lied to him about that money. And she goes, oh, so you told him? He goes, yeah, I did. So you're responsible for this. He goes, responsible for what? She goes, he killed my son. He goes, oh, yeah, I'm really sorry about that. She goes, no, you're not. You're not sorry. He goes, no, Candace, I am sorry. Because, I did lose a child of my own. She goes, I told you I had nothing to do with that. He goes, oh, and I had nothing to do with this. Inadvertently. And he goes, hold on a second. Sorry, you guys. He goes, he was like, you realize it would take a special type of marksman to shoot from way up here, Miss Hannah, and hit your son? He goes, now how could I do that? She goes, Jim. And he goes, I don't forget anything. But he called her the B word, obviously. I just filtered it. And he walks away. And then she goes, neither do I. And then it cut to commercial and then no, it didn't. But okay. So, what are we saying, y'all? Did Jim hire a marksman? And it just looked like it was Warlock because it was a whole shootout, but really he had somebody in the cut that did. Tyler? And I seen the Jedi's review and he said the same thing. He was like, Tyler, don't. Tyler, don't. No, Tyler. And you know what? I didn't really realize he still blamed Candace for Amanda's death when he found out it was the professor that raped her. Maybe he's like, Candace pulled her into the lifestyle because he admitted he thought she was an escort because Candace was an escort and she was living with her. And he was like, and then kicked the mess out of him and, you know, got him sniper shot up and all that. And he goes, you know, so they're saying they're just like, inadvertently you did this and inadvertently you did that. So, yeah. So, if my camera cuts off, you guys, I'm just going to record in 2 parts because I cannot do this again. This is like my 3rd time and I can't. So, then we switch to Candace in the lobby because she can't get into her room. So, Veronica sees her and she comes up to her. And she's like, well, hello there. And she goes, get the heck out of my face. She goes, is that any way to treat somebody who's keeping you out of jail? She goes, I don't care. She goes, well, you should care. She goes, because I have something. She goes, because there's 4 officers outside waiting for you. She goes, I don't. She goes, okay, I got it. You don't care. She goes, well, let me just play this video I think you'd be interested in. She goes, I don't care. She goes, well, let's just skip right to it then. She goes, I need a favor. Can you do those? I know you do ones for men, but can you? She goes, what do you want? She goes, I know you and Erica have a plan in place for David. I want in. She goes, because I know you she used to be your bottom hoe. She goes, oh, or your bottom witch, I believe you call her. I know you're calling the shots. I know you control her. She goes, and I know you have very good instincts. I could tell you didn't trust her from a mile away. How did you do that? And Candace is like, what are you talking about? And she goes, oh, let me show you. Plays the video of her talking to Erica. And, you know, the whole scheme with David. And so Candace is like, how did you get this? She was like, I gave her flowers. She was like, she told me about that, but she said she threw out the flowers. She's like, yes, she did, but, you know, broke girls like yourselves see something nice and you want it. So she came back for the vase. The camera was in the vase. By the way, I hate when people call it vase. I say vase. So I'm over it. But, yeah, so she was like, and the whole time I was watching, I was like, oh, they finally gonna get one over on Candace. Because she also says, I know Erica was working with War the whole time and all this. She was like, and I really thought they was gonna get you. She goes, but I knew when I was watching the video back, I knew you didn't trust her. She was like, and how did you do that? She goes, Veronica, what do you want? She goes, I want her. She goes, I have the intel and everything to make him suffer. But I want to make sure she suffers too, and I can only do that with you. Candace is like, and why would I help you? She goes, because this in exchange for your freedom. She goes, but I'm already free. She goes, no, you're not. And Candace looks behind her. She goes, oh, so it's like this because the cops all center around. She goes, it's like that. So make a decision, darling. Are you, why not pull her purse strings together? She goes, as long as I can pull the purse strings around your neck. She goes, okay, have it your way. The cops come up, they take her. He goes, are you Candace Young? And Veronica goes, that's right. And so they take her. And guess what? It was Jennifer Hudson's man, a slash punk from I Love New York. Did y'all see it? That's the first thing I clocked him as. And then I was like, because I always wondered that. I said, is Punk off of I Love New York Jennifer's husband? I don't think they're married. But is that Jennifer's man? And I was like, I think it is. He always looked familiar, and I knew I seen him on I Love New York because I used to watch I Love New York heavy. I'm not gonna lie about it. I'm not gonna be ashamed of it. I Love New York used to be my show, and his name was Punk, and I was like, that's Punk. And he went to like Harvard Law School and all of it. Go ahead, Jennifer. Go ahead. Aside from the fact that he was in love with another woman at a time and was on a reality TV show, he's good. Okay, he's good. He's good looking. Anyway, moving on. No, he's not. Because whatever. He's married and I feel weird saying. Anyway, it was Punk. It was Jennifer Hudson's man. It was him. And also when they're reading her rights, she goes, can you grab my bag, please? And so they're walking her out and she's like, what are you looking at? They take her on out. And Veronica goes, let me know when you get your one phone call. Call me. And walks right the heck off. So then we switch to Justin and Jeffrey. Jeffrey telling Justin, she's gonna expose you, so you better tell your wife before she does it. He's like, she not gonna do it. He's like, yes, she is. He's like, then why aren't you going home like she told you to? He's like, that's because me and my dad have a plan in place. But you need to tell your wife because I'm 100% sure that my mom will do it in open court. So better coming from you than from her in open court. And he goes, she's not. And forget all that. Like, just lay up with me. Okay? I couldn't do it. Is that all you could think about? at a time like this at that. And by the way, I just want to say, I don't know who's doing Jeffrey's wardrobe, but I'm not feeling it at all. Jeffrey looks nice in suits and solid cut black, gray, even blue. Like, he looks, I don't like that, I don't like him in jeans, unless it's black jeans. The red pants look nice on him. Listen, I was just doing Jeffrey's whole wardrobe, and I was like, Jeffrey, you do not look, and no, I'm not gonna say it because he's just a cute. I just think Gavin Houston is the cute guy, but I don't know who's doing that wardrobe, but they messing him up because I do not like. Jeffrey's probably got the worst wardrobe on the show. If I'm being, and that's saying something because Jim pretty much just wears the same freaking outfit for more than half of a season. So, and I hate Jeffrey's wardrobe. I really do. Like, it's been a couple of outfits where I was like, come on now, Jeffrey. And he had the little chain on. They say he's not wearing the chain no more. And then, I don't know. Like, I didn't like his outfit. At all. So, anyway, when he's talking about lay up with me, actually a note slides under the door. And he goes, it's my mother. And Justin's like, I'm getting sick of her. And so then he's like, what does it say? He goes, I know he is. And he's like, it says, I know he's in there. So they come out the hotel room. And Veronica, lo and behold, walking right up the hall and right into the elevator. And so Justin about to try and run up on her. Jeffrey's like, Justin, stop. So she's like, I just wanted to tell you two love bugs that I was on my way to court. And so he tries to kind of come up on her. And Jeffrey's like, she goes, Jeffrey, you better get your witch. Get that witch. She goes, and he's like, Mom. And she was, I'm done with dialogue, Jeffrey. I told you to come home and you didn't. Now I'm sick of this. And he goes, and I'm sick of you. And that's Justin. And she goes, what you gonna do? Shoot me with your little gun? And so he grabs her up. She was like, oh, grab me, girl. Grab me on my $4,000 suit. She goes, show me how Black Lives Matter. She goes, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. And so he walks away because she's being loud as heck. She goes, oh, I bet there's only one black life you care about. This black life, pointing at Jeffrey. That's the only black life you care about. She goes, oh, Jeffrey, you're going to jail today, son, for a long time. She goes, and you might want to be in court today because I'll see you in divorce court later on. He goes, do it and see what happens. She goes, okay, bye. And gets on the elevator and goes right the F off. I'm done. I can't. I can't. The $4,000 suit thing was nice. But remember Catherine had exposed her and was like, actually, you're worth negative $25 million. Which, how you got a $4,000 suit if you're worth a negative amount of money? Which, that was something you had in your closet. I'm done. You ain't bought no new wardrobe. That's an old suit, Veronica. It might be $4,000, but you sure enough ain't bought it recently. Okay? You ain't bought that wig recently. No. That was nice. I'm not gonna front on it. I hate her, but the hair was nice. Okay? So I'm gonna make sure I didn't miss anything with that. Yeah, so she just dissed Jeffrey and Justin and was like, y'all going in, pretty much. You're going to jail for a long time, and I'll see you in divorce court. So then we switched to Melissa. She grabbing a wire hanger. And we already knew what was about to go down. Dang, I got pages left. So we'll get back to her. But she grabs a wire hanger, y'all, tries to perform an abortion. So then we switch to Candace. She's in holding. Veronica comes up to her. She goes, I'm due upstairs in 20 minutes. So what's it going to be, darling? Are you in or out? She goes, if I walk, I'm in. She goes, okay, I'll call you. She's like, I'm in here. She goes, you won't be for long. Walks off. So we then switch. And by the way, I don't really know if I need this storyline because for me, it's just going to prolong Erica stay on the show and I'm over her. So then we switch to David. Like I said, if my camera cuts off, y'all, I'm just about to I'm sending this out and I'm going to record another part. So it's your girl, J. Peace, just in advance if it cuts off. So then we switch to David and Erica. So he out there, she didn't woke up and was like, oh my gosh, how long was I asleep? And he's like, not that long. And so she's looking at the view. She's like, I can get used to this. And he's like, yeah, me too. I wish you would. Because, he kind of wants her to stay there, as long as she has to. And so he's like, you know what else I wish? He goes, I wish you would tell me, like, who it was that busted you in your face like that. Because she just got that bruise just smiling at everybody. And she's like, David, I told you I had it handled. He's like, but I'm telling you. She's like, no, David, I don't want to talk about it no more. I told you I got it handled. And he's like, okay. She goes, but one thing I want to know is, can we get some food, please? And he's like, yes, we can. She was like, and we need to go to the grocery store because you ain't got no type of food in this house. And he's like, I haven't been to the grocery store or cooked a meal in years. She's like, yeah, I can tell. And he's like, but I have a he's like, okay, come on, let's go. And she's like, wait, where are we going? He's like, it's a surprise. And she's like, it's not fancy, is it? Because this, talking about her outfit is not okay. He's like, it's fine, you look fine. She's like, no, it's not fine. He's like, guess what? I'll take you clothes shopping on our way there. And she's like, David, no. And he's like, yes, like, I'm definitely taking you clothes shopping. And she's like, okay, but I don't need much. Actually, there's a secondhand store on 8th Street. And he's like, Erica, no, I'm not taking you to a thrift store. He's like, I've never a day in my life took a woman clothes shopping and took her to a thrift store. I'm not about to start now. So I said, okay, Mr. David, you know what I'm saying? You suave or whatever, you suave. You know what I'm saying? If she wasn't playing you, I would be like, you the type of dude that we all want, David. Well, the older women, not me. Okay, no shade. But like I said, David is kind of like the godfather to me. So, but then just in essence, just the cool. I ain't really accepting no money from you or anything like that. But just it was real nice. So it was kind of like, I'm taking care of you, and that's that. So I appreciated that. If it wasn't her, it would be better. So Jeffrey calls David, and he goes, Dad, I just saw Mom. He goes, what did she say? He's like, she said I was going to jail. He's like, Jeffrey, no. The body isn't admissible. So if Candace is free, then if it works for Candace, it works for you too. And he's like, but Dad, he's like, no, son, don't go down to the courthouse. She's bluffing. He's like, well, maybe I should go see. He's like, no, stay away from your mother. Do not go down to the courthouse. You're just wasting your time. Don't go down there. And he's like, Dad, are you sure? He's like, I'm positive, son. I'm working on something. Just don't. And he's like, all right, Dad. He goes, I love you, son. He's like, I love you too. So they hang up. And Erica looked up too when he was like, if it works for Candace, it works for you too. Like, if the body's inadmissible for her, it has to apply to you. And she was looking like, I don't know. She trying to gather something on Candace because she know Candace got the upper hand right now. I know that's right. So he's like, all right, come on. And they take her on. He takes her on out to go clothes shopping. So then we switch to Veronica. She at the courthouse. She walking up. And Alice, the housekeeper, calls her. And she's like, what? Alice, slow down. So I guess Alice tells her that Melissa tried to perform an abortion. And she's like, okay, what hospital is she in? She's like, all right, I'll be here right after I'm done with court. Okay, bye. So George comes up, the DA. And he's like, oh, your client is going to lose. You're not going to win this one. And she goes, well, I don't know, maybe not. And he goes, you just think you're so smart, don't you? She goes, George, shall we? And she goes, it wasn't my client. He's like, yes, it was. She goes, no, it wasn't her, but I do know who it was. And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, I know who it was. And if you play your cards right, you'll find out in just a minute. And he's like, he's thinking she's playing games. And then he's like, one more thing. He's like, we checked the phone records to Jennifer Salison's phone, and it turns out you were the last person that made a call to her right before she went missing. She's like, okay, and? He's like, that's strange that you would be the last person to talk to her, and then she just went missing. She goes, what are you trying to say? He goes, I'm trying to say, do you know where she went? She goes, no, I don't. He goes, did she go to the crier's house? She goes, asked and answered. I said, come on, Veronica. She said, I don't know where she went. And now, can we go into court, please? Thank you. So, you didn't play your cards right there, George, because you come in there selling wolf tickets. And then Veronica then showed you right the F up just by words and what she did in the courtroom. So then George comes in and tries to kind of get the judge to recuse herself. He goes, I found out that you're also the judge in, Veronica's conspiracy case on the Lizzie Castile situation. And Veronica goes, Your Honor, we're all grown-ups here, and I'm sure that you're able to make a distinctive choice. And he goes, Your Honor. And then she's like, Miss Harrington is right. I'm a big girl. I can decipher the two. Thank you. So she's like, next. So they start getting into it. So I'm not going to go all into it, but I'm not. She says, okay, you're arguing the validity of the warrant. And he says, Your Honor, the warrant, covered all the bases, and we were able to serve it on her, and that's all that, and it works in this murder. And Veronica goes, objection, there was no murder. And he goes, are you serious? And she goes, you guys, save this for your trial. This is just a preliminary hearing. Like, save all the theatrics for later on. So then she goes, Ms. Harrison, she goes, are you arguing that the validity of the warrant? And she goes, no, it's valid. And the judge goes, then why are we here? And Veronica says, because it was valid before the house exchanged hands. She goes, according to the court documents, the house switched hands at 5 o'clock and went to the bank. and they didn't find the body until 6:37, a full hour and a half after the house had already switched hands. And so she tells the bailiff to bring the documents, and she goes, "Is this so?" Talking to George, and he's like, "Yes, Your Honor." And she goes, "Then she's right. I'm throwing out anything that happened after 5. And he's like, "Your Honor, her client and an accomplice stabbed this young man to death." And she goes, "No, she didn't." And he's like, "Are you kidding me?" And he's like, "Your Honor, without the body, we don't have a case." She goes, "I think you're right. And I'm going to argue that there's not enough evidence here to make an indictment. So the body's excluded. The case is pretty much done." So she goes, "Thank you, Your Honor." And so George was stood the F up. Like, you shouldn't have even came to work that day, George. It was a wrap. So she turns around. She's like, "That's all, Your Honor." She goes, sees Jeff, turns around. Like I said, y'all, if it cuts off, I'm just doing it in 2 parts. Turns around and sees Justin and Jeffrey. And I said, "Jeffrey, why in the F would you disobey your father and come down to that courthouse?" So she goes, "Actually, Your Honor, there's one more thing. Even though the body is excluded, we have a confession. My son, Jeffrey Harrington, admitted to me that he murdered Quincy Maxwell." And George is like, what kind of BS are you trying to pull? And then the judge goes, "What?" And she goes, "Mrs. Harrington, sidebar." Like, approach the bench. So George just goes up there too. And she's like, "What the heck are you doing?" And George is like, "That's what I would like to know." She's like, "I'm telling you, my son told me that it was him. And, arrest him. He's in the back of the courtroom right now." And then George is like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Do you want this case or not?" She goes, He can argue ineffective counsel." She goes, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah, I would do that." She was like, "Look, I'm just saying, you either want the case or not." She's like, "Okay, arrest them." So she's like, "Okay, fine, have it your way. Arrest them." So they put Jeffrey in cuffs and all of it. And then, so she goes, "And just one more thing, Your Honor. I'm going to argue that you need to recuse yourself from this case." And George goes, "On what grounds?" She goes, "On this." Clicks the remote, plays the tape of Justin in Jeffrey's hotel room, shirtless, talking about, "I love you. I was never into this before you. You can't do this to me." All this, that, and the third. "Jeffrey, get your mother out of here." Got the badge number and all of it. The judge was like, "We will have a recess." Like, she's looking like, gets up and walks right the F out. Veronica and Jeffrey comes up to her, Mom, are you serious?" And she's like, "You didn't listen to me. And now I'm not listening to you. Enjoy your stay." Walks onto the back. If looks could kill, Justin would have had her murdered. She goes up to him. She says, "This is all your fault, right? This is all you're doing. So live with it." And she walks on out. Then we switch to her. Wait a minute. We switch to her and Melissa in the car. She went to get her from the hospital. She goes, "So a doctor says that you tried to kill my grandbaby." She goes, "Well, it didn't work," in case you wanted to know. She goes, No, wait a minute. I want to get this. I have to get this. I'm sorry. She goes, "But they're letting me take you home because they're saying that you're a danger to yourself, which means you're a danger to that beautiful, beautiful baby that you're carrying." She goes, "So I'm going to take you to my facility so you can get treated for this depression or whatever it is that you have." She goes, "I really don't know why you would be so unhappy other than this ragged ASS car you drive." She goes, "I definitely wouldn't let you be in mine, especially with how bloody you've been lately." I was like, oh my God. She's just carrying on. And so we actually, in the middle of this, we switched to Candace, and she's getting a call from Charles as soon as she gets released. And so she's getting her phone back, and her phone starts ringing. It's Charles. And he's like, "Oh, so I see you're having a hard time." And she goes, "You still got people watching me." She goes, "Why?" He's like, "I don't know." And he goes, "I want you." She goes, "What is it that you want?" He goes, "I want you to come visit me in D.C." She says, "No, it's not happening." He's like, "Come on, please." She says, "No." He says, "Okay, well, call me if you change your mind, because after I win, this number is gone." She's like, "I'm not going to be calling you." And he's like, "Candace, please." And she hangs up the phone. So then, but by the way, I want to say that they showed, like, when she's driving, we see a truck in the background. And I was kind of like, okay. That's kind of, but I didn't think about it. I was like, okay, whatever. So then we see the truck again, like the out view when we get her car driving. And I was like, now something is definitely up. Something is going on with this truck. Like, I don't know what, but something is going on with this truck. So, yeah, we get back to Veronica. and a truck starts ramming the mess. Now, I'm not lying, y'all. I knew it was Justin. Because I'm looking, because I'm like, are they going to try and cliffhang this? I said, no, I'm going to freaking know who it is before. If Tyler does try to cliffhang us so we don't know who the driver is, I know who it is. So I'm pausing, and I see white hands on the steering wheel. And I see, like, a cop uniform. So I was like, it's Justin. And I couldn't, like, the only thing you really couldn't make out was the face. And I was like, who else is it going to be? It has to be him. So then it still wasn't really, even when he was ramming her, it still was, they still wouldn't really give it to us. So I was like, I already know it's him. Tyler, you're not going to try and tell me it's somebody else. So anyway, Melissa, so she was like, what is wrong with you, man? Because he just keeps ramming the F out of her. And she was like, what are you laughing at, Melissa? She's like, somebody hates your ass just as much as I do.